One of the things we notice when we have conversations on this show about conversation is people really care about likability.
Yes.
Like they really want to know what's making them disliked, and they really want to know how to be liked.
Good. So being liked is a huge drive, but it's just one of many things that we care about in terms of gaining status. So status is respect, admiration, liking in the eyes of other people. Liking usually comes from sort of warmth and charm. Admiration often comes from like perceptions of competence. So we want warmth and competence at once, ideally. Okay, let's go back in time. Should we talk about the talk framework? Because there are going to be little clues about how to be better liked across the whole framework.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with T. I'm going to push these to the side. T is, first I just want to say as a whole framework, TALK is the most comprehensive, teachable, practical, scientifically rigorous framework in the world for communication.
Did you invent it?
I did.
So you would say that.
But I didn't, when I first wrote the book, I didn't say it strongly enough. And in the last almost year, I've come to realize why. One part is because most people focus only on difficult conversations, and here we are focusing on all conversations, even the ones that seem like they should be easy and fun. It's all conversations everywhere, personal and professional. The other piece is that I didn't even really intend this as a scientist, but the way we do research is essentially natural language processing, machine learning fits into this new world of AI. So the framework can be used by humans or machines to coach people to be better conversationalists and used as a rubric after the fact of saying, okay, how did this go? Did you do well? Let's look at TALK and evaluate.
Okay. It's the best in the world ever.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing. Okay. T is for topics. Topics are the building blocks of conversation. It is what we choose to talk about.
Okay.
Very simple. We all have an intuitive understanding that we sort of work through different chunks. First, we're going to talk about your conversation with your girlfriend. Then we're going to talk about the talk framework. Then we're talk about the compass, whatever. We're working through topics. What I think most people don't realize is that we're choosing topics every time we talk. It's not just at the beginning of a conversation, like an opener. Like, hey, what do you think of this, the diplomat? No, it's every time you're talking, we're making moves to gently stay on topic or switch to something else. What's so beautiful about that is it means we all have power. We all have control to nudge the conversation one way or another. And we can all do a better job with it.
So what's the game here? To pick better topics, to know what topic we're aiming at?
There's a lot of goals. It's both about choosing better topics. It's also about how can we make any topic better, okay? One huge piece of advice that when you start to realize how much your mind is doing during a live conversation is to offload some of that cognitive work to beforehand. Okay, so prepping topics ahead of time. This does not mean writing out an agenda before you call your parents or before you call your girlfriend. What it does mean is spending even 30 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds before you're in the chaos of a conversation to think about what you could talk about or what might be important for you to remember to talk about.
Did you do that today? Always.
Sometimes you don't have to, right? Like you did it today. You did extensive prep. Mm-hmm. You even have things printed on cards here. Mm-hmm. And in a way, I have been prepping for this conversation for 20 years. I've been studying these things. I designed the framework myself. I've gone on 80 other, podcasts. That's all prep for this moment.
What about in your personal life?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of where you prepared topics?
Every conversation that I know is coming.
Give me an example.
So with Kasi, before I got here.
Which is a member of our team.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask her what it's like to be moving from London to LA. I wanted to ask her what it's like to work with you.
She said all good things. All good things. Next question. What does A mean? I'm joking.
So funny. I often will, it's not rocket science. It's literally just a little bit of forethought. What kinds of questions or topics could I ask you that will make our conversation feel a little bit better than just like winging it in the moment and talking about like some random thing I see in the room? Mm-hmm. I try to do this before every conversation because now I know how powerful it is and how kind it is. If you are calling somebody and you're like, okay, oh yeah, their kid was going to take guitar lessons. I should remember to ask about that. Or, oh, my friend had this big presentation at work. I should remember to ask how that went. That means you're going to remember to ask them. And that's super kind. And they're excited to talk about it too. It makes everything better. So topic prep is a huge deal. In our research, what we find when you randomly assign people to prep topics or not, the conversations where people have thought ahead, even for 30 seconds, they feel less anxious. They're much smoother. There are fewer disfluencies, so ums, uhs, stutters between topics. They cover more topics, which is usually a good thing. More likely to land on good topics. You're less likely to blurt, so you're less likely to share things that you don't want to share with people. It's just an incredibly powerful strategy. And it doesn't need to be complicated. I've gotten in the habit of putting like 2 or 3 bullet points for people in my Google Calendar notes when you know you have a meeting coming up. And you don't even have to do it right before. Like, oh, a week ahead of time, if it pops in my head that I want to ask Stephen about, do you want to have children? I might write that as a little bullet point in my calendar note for the time that I'm going to be here with you. And then I'll be more likely to remember it. Do you feel skeptical about this?
No. I was just thinking it probably makes you more, going back to the point about likability, it probably makes you a more likable person.
Much more likable, yeah. In fact, if you can achieve more of your goals, whether they're high informational, low informational, high relational, low relational, all of that makes you more likable. You seem more competent, you seem more warm, especially when you lean towards those pro-social, high relational goals.
Because everyone talks about how if you're interested in someone else, like you were interested in Cozy.
Yes.
That must have felt good for her, which must make her like you more.
We should go ask her.
That's a good point.
I ask I have my students sometimes do a reflection task where I say, if you had to walk into a room and your job was to make people like you a 1 out of 10, a 5 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10, what are the behaviors that you would do to try and pursue those 3 worlds?
Okay, so if I wanted people to like me 1 out of 10,
yeah.
What
would you do? You tell me.
You tell me. You're the expert.
I want to hear your guesses.
My guesses. I would walk in quiet on my phone and I would ignore them.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd look up and make some kind of snide comment. I definitely wouldn't notice that they were there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't make eye contact with them. I would maybe be rude, maybe like take a phone call.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, you get 1's really low. So you probably insults, probably.
Oh, yeah, I'd offend them.
Yeah, offend them.
Yeah, make some snot
maybe
comment.
take a phone call and then while you're on the phone call, talk about how great you are or something, right? Some sort of arrogance, etc.
Yeah.
Maybe if they try and talk to you, interrupt them.
Yeah.
And be like, not now.
Or look at my phone midway through what they're saying.
Yeah, okay. So there's lots of things you can imagine there.
Okay.
Already we've touched on topics though, right? When you think about, okay, I'm talking on the phone in front of them and what am I going to be talking about that reduces my likability, even for someone who's like just observing you talking.
I'd get their name
That's
wrong.
Great. Yep.
That's a good way to say you don't matter to me.
Yeah. 5 out of 10 is an interesting one. You want to do it probably more blasé, like you engage with them, but not very well. Talk about small talk topics, like you were saying, things that you could talk about with anyone that are not personalized at all, seem a bit disinterested, but not offensive, just bland.
Okay.
Then we get to 10 out of 10 world.
10 out of 10 likability.
Yeah. What are you doing if you're trying to get 10 out of 10?
I'm completely focused on them.
Good.
I'm attentive. I'm complimentary. I'm going to flatter them.
Yep. Do you think it will seem obsequious?
I don't know if I get it right.
Okay.
Because I'm going to mean it.
Yeah, because it's going to be sincere.
It's going to be really sincere.
Yeah.
I'm going to crack a great joke.
Yes.
Knock, knock.
Yeah. Who's there?
I don't know. You're
like, I don't know. My
you
panic.
Laughed, didn't you?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm going to flatter them, crack jokes, be very attentive, get their name right, ask them about their grandchild.
Good. Okay, let's pause. I want to, in that description, already you're moving quite quickly through topics as you're interacting with them. You know that you can't be circling the drain talking about the weather for long periods of time. So just briefly, let me say, we don't need to avoid small talk. In fact, it's a very important social ritual for people who are strangers to each other, people who haven't seen each other in a long time. It's where we land and say, oh, we're doing conversation now. The mistake that people make is they stay there too long, way too long. Any more than like one beat of, oh my goodness, the weather's really warm. It's like summer in California. Then you need to make it more personal and move up this topic pyramid towards medium talk, deep talk quickly, right? So small talk is at the bottom. These are topics anybody can talk about. Tailored talk is more exciting, more personalized, more relevant to your interests. Deep talk is the peak of this pyramid. Only we can talk about this thing in this special way. Not every conversation is bound to get to the deep talk, but when it does, we should feel very appreciative. It's one of the most magical things about being humans. So we don't need to get to deep talk with like the barista at Starbucks or with your neighbor when they're taking out their trash, but it does happen sometimes, and it's quite lovely.
I think I used to put girls off when I was 11 because I used to ask them like the meaning of life too quickly on my mother's stolen Nokia phone.
Yeah.
And so they would stop texting back.
Yeah.
So I think I learned early that like some people just don't. Like,
well, the joke's on them now. Now you get to do it for your
right?
life's work. No, but I think you were on to something there. It's not that you asked them about the meaning of life at all. You asked it too quickly. So it's about the pacing as we move up here. Most people stay too long at the bottom, but we also cannot jump to the top often. You kind of have to do the ritual of climbing to feel like you get there in a natural way.
And is that where relationships are built? Deep ones?
For sure.
At the top?
Moments at the top, probably, right? This is where vulnerability takes you. Often asking lots of questions, especially follow-up questions, gets you up the pyramid more quickly. So shall we shift to the A of the talk framework? Sure. Because A is for asking. Topics and asking are intimately tied to each other. The most common way that people switch topics is by asking a question.